Welcome to KillCam Update. I'm KillCam and we're looking at the US P-38G in War Thunder. The P-38 Lightning has always been a favorite of mine among World War II military aircraft. Its twin-boom fuselage was unusual for fighters of the time. The guns were also unusual for American fighters because they were mounted centrally in the nose of the cockpit. Most US fighters of the era had wing-mounted guns and as a result had to deal with convergence. In War Thunder's US tech tree, the P-38 is probably your first chance to fly a plane with a 20mm cannon. What you get is a plane that could reach up to 400 km per hour in level flight, while packing a good amount of firepower effective at all ranges due to the central gun mounting. You have the power to climb up to enemy bombers fast, and the guns to kill them effectively. You also have a plane that dives extremely well, so boom and zoom away. But if you're playing in realistic battles, beware the compressibility problem. Dive too fast, and your control surfaces will all lock up. You may as well bail out if that happens, because it usually means a crash. Don't start your dives from too high, and keep an eye on your airspeed, and you should be able to manage the problem. First up, we have a Lag 3 and a Yak 1 straight ahead. Both brake to my right, and initially I latch onto the Lag's tail. The Lag puts a teammate into the ground, but the Yak suddenly veers directly in front of my crosshair. A solid burst sets the Yak 1B on fire. The fire is doing further critical damage to the Yak, and it's clearly in trouble. The fire and further hits from my guns will inevitably lead to the Yak's demise. This wasn't a boom and zoom kill, but notice, I avoided making sharp turns and kept the airspeed up. The P-38G isn't terrible at turning, but it's still not a plane you want to turn fight in against most opposition. With the Yak 1B eliminated, I put the nose up and look to gain altitude. As I'm doing that, I spot a PBY-5 Catalina at roughly 2,000 meters altitude. Take special note of how quickly the P-38G made the climb from under 1,000 meters up to the Catalina. The Lightning is fantastic at climbing. One of the best climbing planes you will find this early in any tech tree. As I pull into firing range, the Catalina realizes its situation and there's very little it could have done there. The P-38 chewed up the distance to its target, and a couple of seconds of fire from its guns sent the PBY down in flames for kill number 2. The sheer climbing ability of the P-38, coupled with its potent armament, made that result a foregone conclusion. Later on, this match is looking to be a very short one as the blue team has held the runway and never lost it. The SBD-3 Dauntless dive bomber a kilometer away is too good a target to pass up. For some unknown reason, it turns toward me and away from its teammates. The dive bomber's starboard wing gets sawed off and it's into the ground for kill number 3. Three kills, 0 deaths, and my team won the first very short domination match. Unfortunately, a 1-1 domination match tended to draw me down into atypical P-38 flying low to the ground. Normally, this plane's better suited for boom and zoom tactics. Let's see what happens in the next and hopefully longer game in the P-38G. I start this game by climbing up to 3,800 meters. My team has grabbed the A and C runways, and all enemy planes are at lower altitudes. Having nothing to do up there, I decide to dive and pick off enemy bombers trying to whittle away our AI ground forces. I spot 2 SBD-3s breaking away from their friends and drop in behind them to pursue. Neither plane presents much of a threat to me, so I leave the one flying across my flight path alone to concentrate on the SBD flying away. I'm doing nearly 800 km per hour airspeed, and unless I'm lucky, will probably overshoot on the first pass, and I do. A slight bank to my left slows me down to get my guns back around on the dive bomber's tail. Now at over 500 km per hour, this pass has a higher chance of success, and I have a longer time window to put my guns on target. Long sustained bursts of gunfire hit the Dauntless and took it out in midair for the first kill of the second match. A little later, as I'm climbing to regain some altitude after my initial dive attack, I spot an A-20 Havoc in my peripheral vision, flying above me and to my left. I wing over in that direction as it's just 1.5 kilometers away and an isolated target flying toward me. When we close to within firing range, the A-20 is in a steep dive, so I roll onto my back and point the plane down to drop onto the Havoc 6. His dive keeps him just outside my effective range, and all of my shots are spraying wide of the mark. By now though, it's clear that the Havoc can't get away from me, and if I stick with it, the P-38G should eventually pull closer for an easier kill shot. I do however have to take care, not to fly too predictably behind it, as its defensive gunners are not totally ineffective. A barrel roll is a good way to keep your plane from getting damaged or worse as you gain ground on the target. At higher tiers, against bombers with heavier gun turrets, this is a must. For now though, at 400 meters off the Havoc's tail, I'm right smack at my convergence setting. I set the plane on fire, and the only doubt was it going to be destroyed before I depleted my machine gun magazine. There's no more satisfying sight in this game than that of a burning bomber in its death throes in your crosshair. Like Pavlov's dog, waiting for the aircraft destroyed thing for your reward. Next is just a simple case of see it, track it, kill it. The Stuka slowly flies across my gun sight, already smoking from previous damage. 2 bursts from my guns put it out of its misery for the coup de grace. I've just managed the 3 kills from the previous game, and the ticket counter shows this match has a long way to go before it's over. My next intention was to go after that enemy Yak 1, but the Focke-Wulf killed it first. I moved on to the P-40 1.5 kilometers away. As I close on it, the Kitty Hawk makes a hard right and reverses course, flying in a westerly direction. He passed beneath me, and we were at nearly ground level, so I couldn't safely dive at him for the kill. I was confident that the Lightning could outturn the P-40, and it was at 550 kph, so I banked hard left and wound up 400 meters off his tail for the perfect convergence range at the kill. Number 4 in the match, this was one of those times when you know the matchup is in your favor and that a brief turn fight is viable in the P-38G. Almost as if to prove the point, I'm in another turn fight with a Kitty Hawk right after I kill the last one. I have support locally from teammates also engaged with the P-40. As you can see, I'm getting my guns around it for a firing solution. If I were near other enemies, this would be a mistake. I'm low on energy. The Kitty Hawk, though, is the one in the wrong neighborhood. With no other threats to my plane, I use its superior performance to catch up to it and kill it. It's a worse turn fighter than the Lightning, and it certainly can't get away from me in level flight. Snapping the port wing off was a fait accompli, and that was kill number 5 for the match. This last sequence shows everything you do when you're flying the P-38 well, and why you should avoid turn fights when the odds are not in your favor. I have the Ki-27 trying to cap C in front of me. I'm at over 500 kph, and I'm perfectly positioned for a boom and zoom run. I get the kill for number 6, and had I stayed on a vector that brought me to safety, I'd have been perfectly fine. Instead, I get greedy, and I turn back into the furball. My energy's low, and I'm getting damaged by enemy fire. Ultimately, I take an ill-advised head-on with a Yak that, while I get a 7th kill, puts me into the ground. For the little that remained of the match, I flew out in a Corsair and got another kill before it ended in a victory for my team. Both matches were wins, and I got 10 kills in the P-38G. I died at the end, ramming the wreckage of the 10th plane in the pair of games that I killed. The fault was all mine on that one. I hope I've demonstrated, though, that the P-38G, while mostly a boom and zoom style of fighter, does have a limited ability to turn fight against some planes. Knowing when you can comes with remembering what matchups are favorable to the Lightning. That's all for today on the P-38G plane feature. I hope you liked the presentation. Please click on the subscribe button to see future content on KillCam Update, and like or comment on this video as you wish. Goodbye everyone, and I wish you all good hunting.